Hi, Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to Merdeka special from an international lens. So here today, me, Rafi Shami, the moderator or host for today, will be bringing you a certain perspective that we can see from each country that we have invited today. So we can see what are their thoughts about independence, what are their thoughts about freedom, and what are their own version of independence in their country. So that's why we invited these four interesting guests that we have today. Now, for most of you who doesn't know, like who are these four people that we have invited, let me introduce to everyone who are these four people. So first, we have Brother Muhibullah. He is from Bangladesh. He is also a PhD candidate, and he is the president of Friends of the Library Cup, Dar Al Hikmah Library IIUM. That is Brother Muhibullah from Bangladesh. Now we go to the next one. Is Sister Rachel Norajavi from Indonesia. She is a student of IRKSHAT, fourth year, and she is also the president of Indonesian Student Association. That is Sister Rachel. After that, we have Brother Ibrahim Adel. He is from Yemen. He is a fourth year of MBBS from IIM Kuantan. He is a member of International Department, IIM Student Union Kuantan Campus. And lastly, we have Brother Abdul Rahman. He is also from Yemen. He is a third year student in Kuliah of Engineering, head of Office of International Affairs, IIM Student Union, Gombak Campus. So, now that we have known all the four speakers that we have invited today, so surely you are interested to know what are the thoughts because that is the point that we have this live today. So yeah, maybe before we start, so the format of the forum today, or maybe this chill session today, is we will have two rounds. So the first round, I will ask each speaker a question. So the question will be answered by each of them, the specific question. So one question for each speaker, and then we will move on to the second round, which is I will also ask another question for each speaker, and it is a specific question for each speaker to answer. But before that, I think we want to know a little bit about our speakers. So maybe we can have a few warm up questions that we can ask them. So we can be more intimate with the speakers and to know more about maybe Malaysia. So yeah, maybe I want to ask to all the four speakers, what was your first impression of Malaysia when you came to the country? What was your impression of Malaysia? So maybe we can go with Brother Ibrahim first.
All right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So actually, my impression about Malaysian people and the Malaysia country as general, maybe I could say that Malaysian people in general they are friendly, kind, and you can speak to them like very easily, and it does not require any what do you call it any more effort to talk to them. And also I could say the weather here in Malaysia is kind of better than in most of my what do you call it in my better than in my original country. I could say that.
Nice, nice. So the people and the weather. That is from Brother Ibrahim. Maybe from Sister Rachel. Can we know a bit?
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel from Indonesia. As we all know that Indonesia is quite near to Malaysia, we have some similar stuff in our country. I mean, our state are having some similar cultures and even the clothes and other stuff. So if Brother Ibrahim said that the people and the environment as well as the condition, I mean, the weather, I think it's kind of similar with Indonesia. However, something that I really interested to Malaysia is that the humidity as well as the transportation, all the stuff are quite, I mean, even more neat than Indonesian. And I think how the government quite good at making the law and make it manageable by all people and by all even if the foreigner, for me, it's kind of easy to be adapting myself into Malaysian society as well as Malaysian culture and the law and the policy. So it is something really interesting for me. The friendly policy, perhaps. However, again, there will be something negative and positive everywhere we go. So this is quite a good step for learning a new culture for me, even if that we have some similar stuff. But having this in, especially in IIUM, International University Malaysia, International Islamic University Malaysia, I see so many diversity. I know some people here who are coming from Yemen. I know some people here who are coming from the Saudi or even the European. It's just really interesting to understand each other and learning the diverse and the other culture. So that's it.
Nice, nice. I really like her answer about, we have similarities, but in the end, we can still find the positivity where we go to other places. And yeah, that is a very great answer from Sister Rachel. Maybe for Brother Abdul Rahman and Brother Mihullah, I will ask, maybe a different kind of question. So for Brother Abdul Rahman and Brother Mihibullah, if the MCO is lifted right now, like for example, tomorrow the MCO is lifted and you can go anywhere, where do you think is the first destination that you will go to in Malaysia and why? So maybe Brother Abdurrahman can go first.
Okay. Firstly, I would like to thank you for having me in this session. And regarding the question, it's okay. For me, I'm a very social person. I would like to talk. I would like to engage with a lot of people, but this MCO or MCO is kind of controlling me. Just keep me and holding me wherever I am, and that makes me crazy, to be honest. But where if the MCO is lifted, I would like to go everywhere. I don't have any specific place, to be honest. And even for us, as the gate, in our university is closed. So if the gate is just open and I am still in the university, that will give me that feeling of freedom. If we are talking about independence, so let's share this freedom. So just I want to be university, but everything is open. Everything I can go everywhere. So if I would like to specify a place where I want to go with my friends, especially, I would love to go to just our neighbor Genting, Genting Highlands, where the weather is very nice, where the places are very, the entertainment places is very nice. So yeah, so I would like to go that place.
That's a very nice answer. Genting Highland is most probably the favorite place of IUM student need to go. Maybe once in their university life. Yeah, I feel that that is a great place to go. With your friends, hang out. Yeah, I feel that is a great answer. What about Brother Muhibullah?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Respected moderator of the session, Brother Rafiq Shahmi, respected fellow brothers and sisters, and all other participants in the program, Merdeka Special from an international lens. I would like to give my sincere thanks to Economics and Management Sciences Society for giving me a chance to join here, to share my views, to just to get some other views from my fellow brothers and sisters from different countries. So I am Muhammad Mohibullah. I am from Bangladesh and pursuing PhD in economics. So I am here in Malaysia since the middle of 2016. So after coming here, generally what do? We try to make differentiate between our own culture and the country we are visiting or we are staying, right? So this way I found that as this is a Muslim country and this is very nice place, so to visit, especially if you want to ask me which location I like most. So I would like to say that everything, every place, any place, if I go, I see so nice view, everything. So there is no limitation to go any suitable place. So I think that any place, anywhere in the Malaysia, this so nice to visit. But as for this COVID issue from 2020, we are stuck on our own place. We even couldn't go to a mosque for pray. So if first option you say that I want to actually I want to warm up myself. So Putraja, the Putra Mosque I like most. So together I can go there, I can pray, and also together I can take a side view to just refresh myself. So this is my most preferable place. And as like Brother Abdurrahman, I'm also a social person. So I like to introduce with people, and I like to visit places. So as the situation is like now, like it's becoming more hotter, the situation with our brain, with our mind. So I would like to go visit any place, the beach area. Like I want to go to make myself cool under the water. So Alhamdulillah, if I get the opportunity, so anywhere it's like Malaysia is a very nice place to visit. Any place, even if you ask me to stay in IIM campus at a place, it's so nice for me. So thank you.
Nice. I really like his answer from this answer from Dr. Mihibullah, where he said that if going to Putrajaya you will get two birds with one stone, because you can pray in a beautiful mosque, and then you can go to the gardens, and the things that are happening in Putrajaya is very nice. I really like that. Okay, I think we are done with the warm up session. We have somehow know a little bit of what are the thoughts, some little thoughts of the speakers. Now we can move on to the serious questions, the questions that we want to know, mostly about freedom, about independence, about the situation in the country. What are their thoughts? What are their comments? So, yes, so the first round will start now, where we will ask a specific question to each speaker and they will answer it. All right. So the first person that will be speaking in the first round is Brother Abdurrahman. So the question to Brother Abdurrahman is, in your country, what is the symbol of freedom and independence? Please also tell us the significance and history behind why you choose that symbol. Yes.
Okay. Regarding the symbol of freedom, I'll talk about the independence in our country first. And I would like to tell about the colonization was by the British in our country. The colonization period had held on for 129 years from, it's too long, right? From 1839 to 1967. On 30 November in 1967, there was the last British soldier who left the country. And then from that time, there were many attempts by the both countries. Maybe now you're going to be surprised why you say both countries. Because we are two different countries before our union. There is a north part and a south part. At that time, so the British was colonizing the south part. Mostly, and in Aden city specifically. So then there were many attempts for uniting the country, the two countries, between the north part and the south part of Yemen. So in my point of view, the symbol of freedom is the emblem. Is the emblem where we are putting with the emblem in the flag in our flag. Maybe you can Google it. You will see the emblem in Google. And then why exactly the emblem? Because it consists of around four things. Four things is very important things for us, and which makes us very proud of our country and what we have built. So the first one is about the golden eagle. Okay, why the golden eagle specifically? Or maybe I can mention it now. The whole four things. Then maybe I can specify why exactly. So the golden eagle, the coffee plant around the eagle, and the flags around the eagle, and the Ma'rib dam. So the chest of the eagle contains a shield that depicts a coffee plant and the Ma'rib dam, with the 7 blue wavy stripes below. And the flags beside the emblem on the right and the left of the eagle hold the flag of Yemen. So now let's describe what are these 4 things that we have mentioned: the golden eagle and the coffee plant, the flags, and also the Ma'rib dam. So the first one is the golden eagle. To be honest, in our countries, as Arab countries, we are very proud of our countries, because we are 22 countries and of the Arabizing things. I mean, we support the Arab things in our region. So this golden eagle was used in different countries, okay, in Syria, in Iraq, and in Libya too. So that's what is inspiring us also as a Yemenis to use the same symbol for and to put it in our flag. And the second thing regarding the coffee plant, maybe this is kind of a new information for some people, that we were the first country in the world who are exporting the coffee plant to the whole people, even to the Western countries. We were the first. But now we are kind of left behind. But I hope in the current time and inshallah in the future we can come back to our legacy. And also regarding the flags around the eagle, to remind the people on our flags and what it means. And also regarding dam, Marib Dam is one of the famous places in our countries, and that's why also we have mentioned it in our flag and emblem especially. So regarding the history, the history especially of the Union, as I said previously, there were many attempts to unite the 2 countries. And before the Union, and the independence was in 1967. So as I said, there is a South country and country were their own countries, even though they had different approach to everything. The government's emblem since the beginning had the same idea or the vision of portraying themselves with the symbol of eagle. So can you imagine the 2 countries have the same emblem, the north and the south part. So this is kind of a symbol that we are very proud of and reminding us of the freedom. And that's what I would like to share regarding the history and the symbol of freedom. Thank you.
Wow, I really learned a lot of things, from Yaman, from only the symbol and emblem of Yaman. I feel that, symbol plays an important part in, in signifying the independence, in signifying the freedom of the country, because with the emblem, with the symbol, you feel pride, you feel that you have an identity in the country because your country has a very rich history behind the symbol, behind the emblem. I feel that's really important for a country to have a very rich history behind their symbol. Very nice. So yeah, let's move on to the next one, which is Brother Muhibullah. So Brother Muhibullah, what I want to ask you is, how is the celebration of Independence Day in Bangladesh? What is the usual culture, and what do you usually do in celebration? Brother Muhibullah, you're muted.
Okay, once again, thanks, Mr. Moderator, for giving me a chance to share my views according to my country perspective. As we are here sharing our views from our country perspective on the celebration of Merdeka from Malaysia. So this is 64th Merdeka celebration of Malaysia. Well, so if I see that unlike other countries, so Bangladesh has also a historical ground of its independence. On 26th of March 1971, the name of the new country was included in the map of the world. So Independence Day of Bangladesh was written in the centering of this day. Throughout the new sunrise of the day, a new chapter of the national life begins. The first thing to remember in the happy moments of this Independence Day is that sacrifices of many patriotic martyrs of our country. On this day of 1971, people of Bangladesh found out the way of freedom from the 24 years of Pakistani colonial dictatorship. History of our freedom is the history of sacrificing of lives of millions of martyrs. So in the national life of our country, Independence Day is the most glorious and the holiest day. So 26th March is our great Independence Day. The Independence Day of Bangladesh in my language, it's called Shadhinota Dibosh. So we enjoy as a national holiday, and this year in 2021, it marks as a golden jubilee of the independence of Bangladesh from Pakistan. In this day, we celebrate like a festival day for a day long with day-long activities. So the day's program begins with the dawns of the day. The national flag is hoisted on all the government and the non-government private buildings in the towns. So Dhaka, in our capital city, takes a festival look on this occasion. So various units of our armed forces exhibits parades before the spectators. So at the very morning, our Honorable President of Bangladesh, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, higher officials, political parties, and the social organizations pay their respects by flowers and floral wreaths at the National Martyrs Memorial, which is situated at the Savar, just near the capital city, Dhaka. So the traditionally we do like we distribute sweets among the children's, poor people's. Special prayers are offered for the martyrs in all the mosques, temples, and churches of the country. Shahid families are paid honor and respect. So special foods are supplied in hospitals, then in prisons, and also for the students, we organize essay writing competition, so stressing on the significance of the day. So various social and cultural organizations hold functions to commemorate the day. Okay, so sports and games are held in throughout the country. The roads of the town remains crowded with the people of all walks of life. Government and semi-government offices, educational institutions, and shops on both sides of the roads are decorated beautifully. So in the evening, important governments and the public buildings are illuminated with multicolored bulbs. This is like a festival. So radio and television centers, they arrange a special schedule for for this day as like a special program. So besides this, the national dailies, they bring out special supplements highlighting the importance of the day. Flowers and floral wreaths are placed in our Jatiyo Sriti Shodha and also the Shohid Minar. We place Shohid Minar everywhere, so we just show our respects to our martyrs and the honor of the martyrs. All day long, we just play our the respectful songs and choruses. So these all are the celebration generally we do in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Muhibullah. That is a very, I think, description of what happened during the celebration of the Independence Day of Bangladesh. Just by hearing Brother Muhibullah says all this, you can feel the atmosphere. You can feel the festivities that is happening in Bangladesh right now, just by hearing him talk. And I feel that's really nice because you feel connected to a country more when the country does a lot of things to retain the meaning of independence. So yeah, maybe we can go to the next speaker, which is Sister Rachel, where I want to ask Sister Rachel. So taking into account your country's history, what do you think is the meaning of freedom? Do you feel students nowadays have the same patriotic feeling as your previous generation when decades have passed from your independence?
Okay. Thank you so much. This is a really interesting question because we're not only seeing freedom as an essential thing back to the background of the history of my country, because most of the country, of course, have their own history, and most of them with the freedom term because now independence all. And this is really interesting because we're still fighting this freedom of ourselves. So if I could say that what is the meaning of freedom, if we do some research, most of the answer is most likely to become as the having power of having the freedom of speech, having power of speaking, giving opinion, standing for ourselves, something like that. But I think seeing that the essential thing of the meaning of freedom is more likely to understand who we are, understand what we want to understand how do we can make ourselves as the person who can give an impact to the other, even if it's not a huge person. I mean a huge people. We are not giving a lot of impact to most of the people, but at least we have this kind of impact for ourselves. So I think this is what I call as a freedom. On the other hand, freedom is having a chance to speak and deliver our opinion, and pleasure is to have that access to involve with the policy making. And however, as a general, freedom is we have this aim and intention to live properly without being corrupted by those who are having the authority, and living under and with the Sunatullah and His mercy. So I think this term is actually the thing that we're fighting. It's not only with me. I mean, here I have Rahman, IIUMSU, who them are fighting for freedom in our camps, and it as well can be tracked back in the past history. Where students are really fighting for the freedom. So if you're asking about the country of mine, Indonesia, if Rahman just now also said about the colonialism, so I will mention it as well, that back then we were colonized by the Jan for like 3.5 years. I mean 3 years and a half. And the Dutch, we are colonized by the Dutch for like 350 years. And we find oppression, we couldn't speak, we couldn't give opinion, even women cannot learn to university, and even having school for the elementary. So this reflects on how freedom of having education is really for all of us, freedom of having something for expanding our insight and expanding our what do we call the knowledge to understand the surrounding is kind of freedom too. So even if I could track back again to the history of Indonesia, after the independence itself, and after the coup by Suharto in 1967 to 1998, if I'm not mistaken, it was students of university who are fighting for this kind of freedom. So students are realizing that our president back then was corrupting so many stuff, he's officiated as the president for years, more than 10 years, and it is, again, power attempts to corrupt. So, knowing that he has this official presidential stuff for more than 10 years, students are suggesting that there are so many corruption done by this president. And yes, students are fighting for this freedom. And back then, if I could say that the media is blockaded by the government, so it's not a freedom of we didn't have freedom of speech, as the media is blockaded by the government. Even if now the media is also controlled by the government, even if it is by buzzer. But the different thing is that back then all things are managed by the government and controlled by the government. But now there are some opportunity for us, for students, it's not just student. I mean, it's not just student of university. It's not just mahasiswa, but also student of high school, higher education, and even those who are not coming as the student. those who are not having some eligible education or proper education. So we're living now in a digital era. I think that the accessibility of having social media, the accessibility of having personal Instagram account, the accessibility of having our personal Twitter account is a way to give us a chance on having this freedom of speech. And so we can give our opinion, and we can show what we want, we can show what people want, and it's not only controlled by the government, it's not only controlled by the policy makers, who we couldn't say that they are making the right policy, because sometimes it's just with what the proper society is. And yeah, it is the thing that we're fighting for now. So for the question that saying that do you feel students nowadays have some patriotic feeling as the previous one? I guess, but in the different media. So back then, students in my country are more, and now, as we are now in a pandemic, as we are now having this access on social media, we're using the demonstration by the campaign through social media, and I think this is kind of new transmitting the patriotic for the student itself. And yeah, it's only for Asian, I guess, because we all fighting for this freedom as well. Our community, our student community, the student organization are fighting for the same reason, to have the good policies for us, to have something habluminannas, khairul habluminannas, something that good for people and society. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken on this Arabic phrase, but however, that's what I mean. We're fighting this freedom to are free from the corruption of the policy, free from the thing that people are trying to use us and just using us without understanding and considering our prosperity. But
Wow, that is really nice from Sister Rachel. I really like her thoughts, yeah, about freedom. Whenever freedom, even though freedom has been fought, for maybe for your country, but then right now we are still fighting for another kind of freedom, because fight for freedom is never ending, and I feel that every time. Even though we are in a new normal, we are in a new age right now. It's the 20th century. Right now, we are still fighting for freedom, even though we have been free for a long time. But we want to search for more freedom, because we want to have a better freedom for our future generation. I really like that. I like that from Sister Rachel. That's nice. Thank you, Sister Rachel. Now let's go to Brother Ibrahim. So, Brother Ibrahim, who do you remember during your Independence Day? Do you have any war heroes or stories that were being shared, in your country that everyone knows? Maybe we can know a bit.
So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, before that, I would like to say Happy Malaysian Independence Day, and may Allah save this country and all countries from evils and danger. So, I would like to share some general information before I talk about the hero. So, for most of you who don't know when is the Independence Day in Yemen, it is on uh, 30th November, and the unity on 22nd May. So, and there are actually a lot of heroes that have contributed to the independence of Yemen, because as you have heard from Brother Abdurrahman, that Yemen before it used to be divided into north and south. So for the north, it was under the Ottoman Empire, and then the Ottoman Empire had been weakened on 1918, and then after it has been weakened and diminished, and then it has been controlled or given to the Imam Yahya Muhammad in North Yemen. So this is how the North Yemen had gained the independence. And the second one, which is about the south of Yemen, which I would like to focus more, which was under the British colonies, like what Brother Abdurrahman mentioned, on 1839 for 129 years. So there is one, I could say, a famous person who had contributed in the independence of South of Yemen, and his name is Abdullah al-Asnaj. So to brief you a little bit about this hero, Abdullah al-Asnaj, his full name is Abdullah Abdul Majid Muhammad Sayyid al-Asnaj. He had been born in Al-Fayha, Sheikh Osman, on 17th October 1934. So he studied his primary until his high school, and he learned the Arabic language and the fiqh, which is the knowledge of Islam, under one of the shuyukh and ulama. And after that, he had joined an airway, which is called Aden Airway, on 1953. And after 3 years, he had become the General Secretary of Aden Trade Union Congress. So the changing point would be after that on 1962. So he had become the president of Social Democrats in South Yemen. And then later on, he had created an organization known as Front for the Liberation of South Yemen. So this kind of organization have fought together with other organizations in South Yemen, with the help of as well of Egypt, to fight for their independence. Despite there were a lot of fighting between the Yemeni organization, between themselves, but they have managed to work together to gain their independence later on. So so after being a leader and fought for that, so he had been remembered by every Yemeni people in the south. And then he was serving the country, and then died on Wednesday, 17th September 2014. He had been dead on age of 88 in Al Fahd Hospital in Saudi Arabia. So I think this is a little bit history about this hero guy. Thank you.
Very nice. We got to know, a bit more about, the war heroes of Yemen. And yeah, I feel that, to have, a certain war hero could bring more morale to the people to remember their Independence Day and to relate, with the independence that they still have. Because sometimes these war heroes, they are a living proof of the things that happened before, and they can tell actually the stories that actually happened, their experiences fighting maybe during the war or maybe during the revolution. And I feel that it's more relatable to the people to have these war heroes that they can relate to. Thank you. So that is the end of our first round, where we have already asked each specific question for each speaker, so we know a bit about their countries. From Abdul Rahman, we have known the emblem and the meaning and the history behind it. From Brother Muhibullah, how is the celebration in Bangladesh? From Sister Rachel, what is the meaning of freedom based on her country history, and also how can we interpret this freedom to the students nowadays? And Brother Ibrahim Adel, he told us some war hero stories that I think were important in bringing up the pride and the things that we are proud of the country that we are living in. So yeah, I think we can move on to the second round, where I will ask also. It's the same thing as the first round. I will ask each speaker a specific question, and they can answer it. So to also remind the audience that are watching this, you can leave your questions that you have been in your mind, because maybe from Brother Abdurrahman you want to ask more to Brother Abdurrahman, or maybe you want to ask more to Sister Rachel, or maybe you want to ask an open-ended question that anyone from the speaker can answer. You may leave in the comments, and we will pick it up later after the second round. we can have a few, questions for Q&A sessions. Right. So for the second round, we will start with Sister Rachel. So last time we have known what are her thoughts about freedom and the patriotic feelings of student nowadays. So during this pandemic time, Sister Rachel, what do you think we can do to make the patriotic feelings stronger? Because in pandemic we are limited things that we can do.
Well, thank you so much for the question. I couldn't say that is quite limited because, as I have mentioned before on a previous session, where I am also explaining the term of the freedom and the accessibility of our nowadays era, where so many media are provided and platform are provided, and so we can actually expand and exposure the mean of this kind of freedom and as well as fighting for the freedom that we want. So to acknowledge that in this pandemic, less mobilities. I mean, like we couldn't do the mobilization of making the real movement, but we still can do that through the online platform, I guess, as I mentioned before too, that we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, for those who are still on Facebook, and by this platform, I think this is very quite good way to expand and explore the idea of patriotic soul and fighting for our freedom. On the other hand, I see that these persons are coming from the leaders, and people are having people are having trust with us, and by this trust by people, it is undeniable that we have an access to those person who are in the authority. I mean, those in the authority. So, given this access and privilege, it is time for us. I mean, for those who have this kind of privilege to nail the access to the authority, to maintain and create some consideration of the student, not only student but people in society. So we are now not really person. I mean, we are not the policymaker. We are not policymaker. Yes, but people are trusting us on this kind of freedom term, and so putting that they are trusting us and we are acknowledging all the suffers, all the consideration that people need to consider, as well as the policy and the welfare that somehow sometimes it is just going left behind because they are not, because they are having less intention to see us, but perhaps it's because we are not showing ourselves as the person who need help or who need aids and the assistance. And so, given that even if in a pandemic era, we still have media, we still have Googles, we still have what could I say? The Microsoft offices. We have this firm to draft for to offer some solution or draft resolution draft for the policymakers. I think that's the way that we can fight for being the patriotic person. So I think that's all.
Thank you, Sister Rachel. She outlined, a bit of platforms or modes that we can, have a platform to fight for our freedom. And she also mentioned a few things that, the government may do if they want to ensure our freedom is sustained, even though during this pandemic, like policy making, like what Sister Rachel said, welfare, these things are important because, some people, when they don't have enough, things going on at home, like you don't have enough supplies, and that is actually a form of not freedom. So we must, help them using our ways that we can. And this platform that Sister Rachel has mentioned is really amazing. I think that if everyone has taken aware or noticed this platform, we can have, maybe a better pandemic experience than before. Thank you, Sister Rachel. All right. So we move on to the next one, to the next speaker, Brother Ibrahim Adel. So, Brother Ibrahim, what do you think a post-pandemic nation will look like? Do you think that we will return to the previous way of life, or we have a new outlook of nation for you is Yemen to go to a new normal?
Okay, thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer this question. So, first of all, before we start answering this question, we need to understand the situation that is happening right now in Yemen. So, because of the onward or continuous war going on in this country, the healthcare system has been destroyed totally, or it has been diminished. So I would say that even currently, because of war, there's I have read in a, what do you call it, in International Committee of Red Cross website, where they mention is around 80% of population of Yemen who are lack of food, fuels, and even the healthcare system. So they would rather die more in such a simple disease such as a cholera and famine rather than in COVID-19. So actually, when I'll tell you, even when they were COVID-19, despite the, what do you call it, the hard contribution, or I would say, despite of the hardworking people who helped to contribute some of the testing kits and some of the vaccination to Yemen, but still it is still very low considered to the number of population in Yemen. So for that, I would say that even with current COVID-19, it doesn't change that much actually, because there's still more people who are dying from cholera and famine. So it's actually a not, I could say, it's nothing new um, to the Yemen people. However, when I say will we have, I mean, in terms of the changes in real life, yes, there is a changes. People start wearing mask, and they started to sanitize their hand. They start to take their measurements to protect themselves from COVID-19. But I would say not majority of them having those kind of protective equipments, because it requires money and the economy of the country is still bad. So far, I would say it would be a kind of difficult to return to previous way of life. So and I can predict that the situation is, although I hope the best for Yemen, that the situation will remain the same, and there won't be any what do you call, improvement or changes. So I think that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ibrahim. So yeah, it is really worrying that we have um, I think this is also mentioned in one of the reports by WHO, who where first world countries, they have much more, vaccines. What do you say that? Vaccines accessibility, they can get vaccines easily, rather than the countries, developing countries, like Malaysia and Yemen. We get things slower than them, and this is, some kind of discrimination, and we can say some kind of oppression towards the freedom for us to get protected from this virus too, because we deserve to be protected by this virus too. And but at the same time, we still have this, discrimination, or this gap between, first world countries and developing countries. I feel that, yeah, basically, I don't think, yeah, as what Brother Ibrahim has said, it is not, I think, improbable for us to go back to the previous normal that we have. We might have to adapt, to do some things that we have to do in this pandemic, and some things may not be the same because of the pandemic, and that is the reality that we are facing now. Thank you, Brother Ibrahim. Now let's move on to Brother Muhibullah. So, Brother Muhibullah, during this pandemic, our own freedom has been limited since we cannot move around, we cannot meet our friends and other. Do you think the meaning of freedom has taken another meaning because of the pandemic? If you think it has changed, how do you think it will impact the views of nations on freedom?
Thank you, brother. Thank you for a very important question. As this, in the time being, many of us might be in many of us mind that like we have been deprived from our freedom of movement. So to fight against this COVID-19 virus, people have been required to remain at home, right? So they have to stop from going to work or school, or to engage with any process of social the activities, right? And sometimes we need to do our activities like using maintaining social distance. So if we just can say that never in the mankind in the history had our freedom been much restricted during these COVID issues. So as in the world, there are different types of people with different religions. So the beliefs, views are different in according to the perspective of the country or people's mind, right? So um, in this situation, as we are stuck at our own place, so to understand the situation, just I want to share you two hadiths about this pandemic. So this is not the first time in the world. So there already happened some other times this type, not the same, but the things happened like people died. Many people died due to the pandemic situation. So, in support of the current situation and the freedom, I would like to share two hadiths as the messenger from our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which is one hadith is presented in the chapter titled "The Reward of a Person Who Suffers from Plague and Remains Patient." Okay, so it's a hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith number 5734. So the hadith narrated by Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, who is the wife of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So she asked Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam about the plague. Okay, so Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam informed her, saying that plague was a punishment which Allah used to send on whom He wants. Okay, so but Allah made it as a blessing for the believers. So there are very important messages in the hadith. And none among the believers remain patient in the land which plague has broken out, and considered that nothing will befall him except what Allah has ordained for him. But definitely Allah will grant him a reward similar to the martyr. So there are big, deep feelings from this hadith. So if I explain another hadith, it's another hadith from Jami al-Tirmizi, hadith number 1065. It mentioned that Hazrat Usman bin Zaid radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that if plague occurs in a land while you are in it, then do not leave it. And when it occurs a land while you are not in it, then do not enter it. So from both of the hadiths, we can understand that what will be our movement during this situation. So is it like government need to stop movement or restrict the movement of the people, or we ourselves need to understand the situation, and we need to recover or fight against the virus. Okay, so in that perspective, if I see that according to this hadith or our feelings, we are staying at our place. We are not visiting our friends anywhere. So it's not like it's definitely not like a restriction of our freedom. So the freedom meanings a lot. Means the freedom is not a narrow word. It's a big meaningful word. So if we just think that this situation is not happen to any specific community, or not, it's not like a long time based effect, right? So as freedom we normally take from the other party who dominates our activity, who normally restricts our voice, or the movement, everything, right? So in this perspective, so I don't think that this view and the freedom view is same. So this not actually related to the restriction of the freedom. But yes, definitely to recover this situation, so government need to restrict the movement of control. So it's the benefit for the community, benefit for the citizens, benefit for people living in a region or in a country. Okay, so um, uh, I think it's too clear to everyone that as we are facing this situation for a specific reason, and we hope this situation will not last for forever. So we can get released from this situation soon. So and then again we will enjoy our life freely. We can move, we can visit anywhere after this situation. So on the other hand, yes, definitely we can explain that if any government they impose these restrictions for their own sake, the political sake, or their benefit, or from their personal side or personal benefit. So in that perspective, sometimes we can define that in this situation, in this country, or in the location, government is just restricting their freedom. Okay, so we hope no government will enforce like for their own sake. So they will feel the people's mind. They will feel to give a secure life. So that in this way, I also can request to um, just for a short time we have to take that decision by any authority or government. Um, uh, so that's all. I think I'm clear on my point. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Brother Muhibullah. I really like, Brother Muhibullah bringing two hadith in his, explanation, because I feel that, that solidifies the explanation that he is giving, because these hadith are timeless. These are from the era of, from our era of our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I think this is a really timeless, advice that we can adhere to right now. And you can see that even though we are a bit restricted, we can't move, but then in the end it worked. Like the quarantine work, and we can have COVID, lesser cases, even though we are trapped. Just sacrifice a bit of our freedom to have a long-term freedom effect from this. Yes, thank you, Brother Mihula. I really That's a really good point. All right, now we have our last speaker for our second round today, from Brother Abdurrahman. So, Brother Abdurrahman, looking back to recent times, how do you think your country has progressed in terms of independence and freedom? If you think they have progressed, a lot, what do you think is the proper step or the next step that they can take to rejuvenate and live in, or maybe take it back, make it more lively, the spirit of freedom and independence in your country?
Okay, I would say this is a very deep question, in terms of the freedom and independence. and how to regenerate, uh, the spirit within the Yemeni community. So let's start with what's happening in our country, and I believe Ibrahim, my colleague, he already have mentioned what's happening right now, but maybe I would like to mention the political part. That we have a lot of groups, groups, Malaysia and other parties. They are want to take control and they have their interests in the country, so that's why we are not stable yet. And even in this kind of pandemic, people should unite, people should gather together and focus on one goal, as what they have done previously when they were fighting the British for getting the independence. But you cannot see this right now. So that it brings another point, which is, what is the independence? What is the independence? It's not only the colonizer left the country and that's all. I believe the independence is the independence of our thoughts, of our actions, of what we are doing, what we are inspiring others with. It's not only a person who came to your country and he left, that's all. No. If that's the case, then we are not having any, we are not getting any benefits, getting independent. So better we have the colonizer again. Let's ask the colonizer to come again and colonize us again. If we want to just unite, yeah, that's what I want to say. So, but in the reality, their communities not being in the same mindset and not fight for the same goal, and have different opinion and matters, and have resentment against each other. So before the spirit of independence, freedom, we should think about the spirit of union. As with unity, we stand together for the betterment of our country. This is what we need. This is what we are looking for. Not only having independent and that's all. And then we fight back. We fight again among ourselves. There is no point. So it's an occasion to this kind of Independent Day, especially with Merdeka here in Malaysia. It's an occasion to remind ourselves and resolve responsible citizens. For we have the right to demand, but duties to fulfill before that. It's not about asking what is there in freedom for me. Rather, it's about asking ourselves what we can do for our society and country. So I would like to mention, a country where we can be inspired with, and how can we apply the concept in our country well to rejuvenate the spirit within our Yemeni community. We start with Malaysia. When Malaysia have been independent from the British also. Now you can see actions, you can see development. Even when my colleague Rahel and my colleague Rahel, she mentioned about the transportation and how the economy here is maybe has a it's more developed. So this is what we are looking for. The things that you are getting out of your independence, and then this is what you can implement in your country. We are in Yemen. We are the same race. Okay, have speaking the same language, having the same tradition, but still we are having our problems among each other and not uniting for one goal. But if you can see here in Malaysia, they are a multi-racial country where they are having the Chinese, the Indian, and the Malay. But still, they are following one leader. So this is what kind of inspiration we can get from this country. And when we are seeing this Merdeka, we have to remind ourselves, okay, this is a country where we can get where we can learn from it, and just implement it in our country. And yeah, even I give an example, another in our university, IIUM. You see how we are designing, and the founders of the university how they have been designing this campus in Gomba campus. They have put the mosque in the middle, and they are not following any kind of thoughts or inspiration by the Western countries. No, they are having their own. This is the meaning of independence of your thought. You don't need to be just follow. You can make your own thoughts and be a leader. And this is the implementation of the Islamization in your place. So this is what we can learn and implement in every country, not only in Yemen. This is general talk also. So you can see this is what we can learn, and this is what we can be inspired with. And thank you.
Thank you, brother Abdurrahman. I feel that his views on unionism and also his examples given is really nice because there's a lot of things that we have not taken into uh, granted in Malaysia. I mean, as a Malaysian, and when you mention it like that, I feel that as a Malaysian, we have many things that we can be proud of. We can have many things that we can be good of, and then taking examples from other countries is also another way that we can be inspired for their freedom and making it our own, like what brother Abdurrahman said. From the university itself, we can see that even though the model of university is the same, but we have our own vision, we have our own mission, we have our own things that we want to bring into the table by this university. And I think that is also signifies freedom in a way. Nice. That is from Brother Abdul Rahman. Now we have finished, with the second round. From Brother, Ibrahim Adel. Just now we can see his views about the post COVID, post pandemic situation. Can we return to the new normal or not? Sister Rachel has bring to the table a few platforms or modes that you can, fight for your freedom on, even though you are limited by this pandemic. Brother Muhibullah also bring us two hadith where we can see that the view of freedom can be taken even from a past experience and also from the hadith from the era of our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Brother Abdurrahman, he brings the concept of the freedom, the significant freedom that you can have by your own, the inspiration that you can take from other countries, and I feel that is really important. So what I can conclude from the session I can get from each speaker that we have right now is that freedom, there is a lot of things that we can fight for now. Even though the Merdeka has been gone for like 64 years ago, we have been Merdeka for a long time. Maybe for the other countries, you might not be, Merdeka for 64 years ago, but then maybe 55, maybe 60. But then we have gained our independence since a long time. But then there are still some things that we can fight for. There are still some freedom that needs to be fought, even we have gained our independence decades ago. Right now, that we are not just fighting for the freedom of the whole nation. We are fighting for the freedom, maybe of the mind, like what Sister Rachel said, freedom of our community, like what Brother Ibrahim said, and freedom that we must obey to the government, like what Brother Muhibullah said, and also freedom that we can be inspired, and we can gain something more. Even though we have been developing a lot, but then we can be more developed than we are right now, even with the freedom that we have gained. So I thank everyone who has come to the session today. I hope that you gain something from this session that we have right now. If you want to recommend your friend, to view this live again, it's recorded, it's on YouTube. You can view it again on Canamis TV. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And in our next talk, maybe we can have other topics that we can talk about. Maybe not just about freedom or independence. And you can comment if you have any comments that you want to talk about. Oh, there is actually a question from the commenters right now. So, Sister Fiza Zulaika binti Shamim has asked Brother Abdurrahman, is there any history between your place, Yemen, and Malaysia?
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. Surely we have a history between Yemen and Malaysia, and it has been for too long. So how should I start? Okay, maybe I would like to start with the immigration. Okay, the in Yemen, the Hadrami people, Hadramaut city, Hadramaut state in particular, they have immigrated to Indonesia in the beginning. Okay, and then to Singapore and then to Malaysia, And until now, we see how the Hadrami people in Yemen, they have integrated to the culture of Malaysia, and uh, and then uh, and then they have been in the country with the parties, with the political parties, and even now we can see some ministers, they are originally from Hadramaut. I give an example: Sayyid Sadiq as-Sagaf. Sayyid Sadiq is originally from Hadramaut, so that's what makes us proud, you know, that some of the people, they have some of us in our country who have emigrated, they were well integrated with the culture. And even now I am in Malaysia. I still have Malaysian relatives, you know, where I can visit them, and we still have our good communication and with our family, within our family. Yeah, this is how I can see the history between Malaysia and Yemen. And until now, we can see the good communication between Yemen and Malaysia, even with the current situation.
True, true. From Brother Abdurrahman, we can see, there is some influence of, Hadramaut places that we can see in Malaysia, the integration of the culture. And it's really nice because, I think in Malaysia, we have been, a cultural pot that we can have, a very good environment for a culture to grow with our multiculturalism. All right. So another question from the comments for Brother Ibrahim Adel. What's the major difference or similarity between Malaysia and Yemen in terms of culture or and religion, or any that you can think of?
All right. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer this question. So far, we can divide it into actually many aspects, but in terms of the culture, I could say that both of us would be proud of ourselves when we talk about our culture, our own culture, and our the culture of our country and so on. And give you an example that even Yemenis people, they'll be wearing most of the time they'll be wearing their cultural clothes for the most of the time. So that's how they show to the people that they are proud of their culture. And I believe that I saw the same here in Malaysia, where most of people they are really proud of their culture. This is in terms of the culture itself, and I would say in the about religious as well. Um, I'm not sure about the majority of what do you call it in terms of religion, the what do you call the mazhab or somewhere, because in our country there are a lot of mazhab and we are not in one mazhab, but I would say in my city where we call it Tais, we are following the same mazhab as a Malaysian, which is mazhab Shafi'i. So we are having some sort of similar mazhab, and some of us are proud of their culture, and we have a. It's not a really similar, but we could say that we have kind of like some influence from Indian culture in our food, and the same is happening to Malaysian food as well. So this is the sort of things that I can say that those similarities that we have between both of the countries. Thank you.
Nice, nice. Thank you, Brother Ibrahim Adel. That is really interesting that we can see similarities, and some differences that we may have between our own culture, geographically and also culturally. We have different kind of culture and maybe things that we practice in our country and in Yemen. But I feel that the similarities bringing a lot of people together. I feel it's really important to find similarities in culture so we can have a point of contact where we can get to know more about each other. All right. I think there will be no more question from the floor. I really thank Sister Fiza Zulaika and also Sister Umi Mariam for asking the question. really nice question, and I feel that you are really interested to know about the culture that they have in their country. As I mentioned before, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have anything, you can comment. And if you want to recommend to your friend to come view this, you may view it in our session, in our YouTube live, because this is recorded. So don't worry. So, yeah, everyone, see you guys in the next talk session that we have. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.